Hey, Bill, I thought I would make a quick video because I thought this was a fun question to sort of play with and try to find some cool data and maybe give you some different ideas that you might not have thought about. I would hate to see you do a general list when there's a few different ways we might be able to save you some money. Um, I went online to try to discover real quick. I'm like, I wonder if there's any kind of database where I could quickly search. And I didn't know about this Google Project Sunroof. So google.com, I'll post a link in the where you asked the question in the community. But I just happen to know my backyard pretty well. So I just wanted to see, what it was. So you can search by property, but also by area. And it just gives you a sense of the sunlight on rooftops to see if it's appropriate, and you can go down to the actual house level to where you can zoom in and see how much room on the roof that you've got and all that kind of good stuff. So we're in California, so no surprise, it's sunny. So I'm like, all right, well, that didn't help too much. So in my area, what I did is I went in, I put in the zip code, I typed in single family. Obviously, that's what we really want to hone in on. I am assuming that I'd probably only want to talk to owner occupants since I don't know too many landlords that are deciding to invest in solar for their properties. It could be, but let's just assume that we'd like to talk to owner occupants. And then I thought estimated equity might be a really good field because the criteria there is basically saying you are only talking to owner occupants that have equity to maybe play with. Doesn't mean that they'll get a loan necessarily, but by whittling it down, it got me down to about roughly 1,600 opportunities in the zip code that I live in. And I know these areas really well, so I decided to go to layers and on the heat map, I went to estimated equity. One of the reasons asked is I live over here, and this entire area happened to have a really bad foreclosure problem back in '05 and '06, '07. It was a new tract of homes that a builder built out, and the entire neighborhood finished at the very last minute. The entire neighborhood was underwater by half, and I I'm really surprised to see so much equity in there. Well, then again, I bought in that area when it was at the bottom of the market, so maybe I shouldn't be surprised. But isn't that nice? You can actually zoom in on the houses and see what their equity position is. Well, I thought another thing that's really cool, let me turn off the equity really quick. You can zoom in on the neighborhoods and actually see trees. So obviously with solar, I would think that, trees, if you're in really dense tree areas, that's going to be an issue because you're not going to be able to get full solar value. So in this neighborhood, it was built in '05, so no surprise, there's not a lot of tall trees. Where if I go in this area where some of the homes have been around, for almost 100 years or more, you can definitely have shade from the trees impacting solar. So it might not matter to you. I was just trying to think of everything that might come up. So I whittled it down because of this criteria to about 1,600 opportunities. So only owner occupants, only people with equity, maybe some other fields you might consider is the age of the owner, um, uh, uh, Gen Gen X and maybe earlier millennials that are getting into housing and they're really health and environmentally conscious. Maybe they might be a little bit more excited about getting rid of their electricity bill. I also know at the local level, we've got a utility that gives incentives on top of possibly state and national. So I have had investors that had local contractors that didn't even know that these rebates existed, and they ended up saving tens of thousands on other things like ACs and whole house fans, trees. I mean, it's crazy. Every utility is different. But if I turn off the heat map and I zoom in, what's really cool is these houses are everything that fits in my list. And let's say I'm like, you know what? It doesn't. I don't want every house. I'm going to walk the neighborhood, and I can add houses to a specific list. So I just made this little list, solar opportunities, and I can add specific houses. Or maybe, okay, we've got this list and I don't want to do all of them at once. How about really know this neighborhood really well and I want to just focus on this area for the next quarter. So I can create this and just very quickly, boom, and then add this, make this a list. I think that's pretty powerful. So anyway, different ways to slice and dice. Maybe you've got salespeople that you can hand this off to, and that you want to do marketing campaigns that aren't just direct mail. Maybe you have a roofer and another lender that does hero or pace loans that you can team up and do some really cool marketing at the hyper localized level. Um, anyway, hopefully this gives you a few ideas. It was fun to make.